Greetings, family. Welcome to the fourth installment of Staying Clear Through Crisis video series, where today we are graciously joined by four young men who are part of the inaugural graduating class at Eagle Harlem. Thank you so much for joining us. As we always do, before we begin our session, we will start with a libation. And again, for those that don't know, the purpose of libation is to pay homage and respect to those that may have passed on who may still be here, that we hold in high regard. And we hope that their energy and their spirits will stay with us, walk with us, and encourage us every single day. I'd like to start with the first libation for Miss Breonna Taylor, the young lady that was unfortunately who lost her life at the hands of the Louisville police. And I know as a community, we've come together to hold those officers accountable. I know that her family is suffering. She was, for those that don't know, she was a nurse who was on the front lines dealing with this COVID crisis and unfortunately lost her life at the hands of the police. And we hope that, again, that they are brought to justice. So for the spirit of Miss Taylor, we say, Ashe, 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 Ashe. Also, for those that do not know, we lost two giants. This past week, we lost Mr. Andre Harrell, who was the president of Uptown Records, who was responsible for so many artists of color, bringing them to the forefront. He was basically the modern day Barry Gordy. You know, if those who know Barry Gordy established Motown Records and created a platform for so many artists of color, and Andre Harrell did the same thing. And you know, we lost a giant in the music industry this past weekend. I want to pour a libation for him. Ashe, Ashe, Ashe. We lost another musical giant. For those that do not know, we also lost Little Richard, who is known as the architect of rock and roll. And, you know, for us as a people, often we don't get credited for many of the things that we've established throughout history. And Little Richard, like I said, was the architect of rock and roll. And so Elvis Presley and all of those artists that came after him stole his style and his credit. And again, I want to pour a libation in the memory of him because he contributed so much to the music industry. In the spirit of Little Richard, we say Ashe, 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 Ashe. And last, and most important, I'd like to pour a libation again for those individuals who've lost their lives as a result of this COVID crisis. Again, so many families are dealing with the tragic loss, and we still have family members that are going out there on the front lines, and we thank you every single day, all of those MTA workers, police officers, medical workers, food delivery people, all of those people that are going out there sacrificing themselves, your teachers, every single day. We want to pour a libation for them. And we say, Ashe, 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 Ashe. All right, guys. Again, thank you so much for joining us for our fourth installment of Staying Clear Through Crisis. We actually, up to this date, we've had a panel and a representation from young men from every Eagle Academy. And this is the first one that we're having exclusively for one Eagle. And I think it's fitting that it's Eagle Harlem because you guys are experiencing your very first graduating class this year. You guys are trailblazers, you are leaders. And so if there was one school, though I hail from Eagle Bronx, and that's where I spent my early days, but if there was any school that I think deserves its own platform for this series, I think it's Eagle Harlem first. So I'll just begin by introducing you young brothers before we get into the questions. First, we have Mr. Nakai Santiago, class of 2020, been at Eagle Harlem since the 6th grade, right? Am I correct on that? Ninth grade. Okay, no. Yeah. And so that actually shifts me to Mr. Dante Jones, who is also class of 2020, and you've been at Eagle Harlem since the 6th grade, correct, Dante?
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining us. I'll shift you now to Mr. Joshua Cabrera, class of 2020, and you've been at Eagle Harlem since the 9th grade, correct?
Yes, sir, yeah.
Okay, and the last we have is Brother Sharon James, right? Class of 2020, and you've been at Eagle Harlem since the 6th grade. So we have two guys since the 6th grade, 2 guys from the 9th grade. Either way, same level of effort established in or needed to establish that legacy that you're leaving at Eagle Harlem. So the first question that I have, and I'll start with Nakai. Nakai, what are your plans after graduating from high school, and what career field would you like to follow?
So after high school, I'll be attending St. Bonaventure's University in Allegheny, New York, about 6 hours away from the city. There, I will be picking up broadcast journalism, and hopefully, on my way into being a news anchor or a sportscaster. But I'm itching more towards being a news anchor. That's my passion. I love, being, just in front of a camera and talking. So that's where I'll be heading, and that's my career goals.
Okay, and I like your setup. It looks like, is that a studio setup that you're in right now?
Yeah, this is where I record my podcast, where I do all my work at. So behind me, I have probably my green screen right there, lights all around me. But yeah, this is where I'm usually at. This is where I, get to work. So yeah.
Okay, all right. Well, that's nice to know because I might need you to fill in for me. As a host on this show, right? And as much as I enjoy it, right, I like to hand it over to the experts. And if we have an Eagle who's an expert, I'm all for it. But that's fantastic.
Just give me a call, man.
Just give you a call? Okay, I got you. Let's shift over to Brother Sharon. What are your plans after high school, bro?
After high school, I plan on attending North Carolina A&T University in Greensboro, North Carolina. As of now, my major is undecided, but I'm sure by the time I get there, and get involved in the campus, something to stick out to me.
So, well, congratulations on going to North Carolina A&T, HBCU, right? Definitely want to join that family. And it's all right that you haven't decided what you want to do yet. I know once you get to school, you'll see the menu of opportunities and possibilities and give it your best effort. Brother Joshua, how about you? Where you headed in the fall?
I'm going to Mercy College. Up in Dobbs Ferry. I will be studying criminal justice, and my career plan is to become a police officer or anything in the law enforcement, to be honest, but mainly a NYPD officer.
It's great to hear that because, we're going to get into our conversation a little bit around the NYPD. And so we need officers that come from our communities and that can understand and relate what it's like to go through some of the trials and tribulations that we do. And I think that'll better police and citizen relations. So I'm glad to hear that, brother. And Dante, how about you? Where are you headed in the fall?
I'll be attending Furman University in South Carolina, and I plan on studying education to be an elementary school teacher.
Okay, right. Another great profession to follow. Very similar to Joshua, right? It's important that teachers are representative of the students that they teach, right? And so, unfortunately, we don't have enough men of color who are teachers. So I salute you for that career choice. So fantastic aspirations for everyone. I know that we have our futures in great hands. So Dante, I'll start with you with this question. You guys are the first graduating class at Eagle Harlem, and I know that being a trailblazer isn't easy. Matter of fact, it's never easy. And as the trailblazers, you are the first to go through all of the trials and tribulations of being the first to do it. What is your most memorable moment as an Eagle student, and why?
I want to say my most memorable moment would be in middle school. So right after we had graduated 8th grade. So we share campus at our school. So there's always another school that we have to share space with. And in 8th grade, that's when we got to the other side of that hallway. So when we first started out, we just had like 3 rooms. And I was always curious, like, what was on the other side, what it looked like. And I think that's something that's so memorable to me because like that's the foundation point where it really took off for us. And then, we established our foundation in the school. So that's something that really stuck out to me. So.
Yeah, it's funny because I remember when we first started in the Bronx, we literally had 4 classrooms in the wing of a school, 1 bathroom, 100 young men.
This is LGJ you're talking about, right?
At LGJ, brother. Yes, sir. Right. And so And it's funny when you talk about establishing legacy, right, and going through those tough times. And I'm still connected with a lot of those guys, and we joke around that, right? And to see how the school has grown, and right, and now, right, we're well beyond just the Bronx. We have 3,000 young men in the entire network. But that is something I remember as well, right? Just those three, four classrooms, right? And, but that's what legacy is about. Josh, how about you?
Um, it's a lot, but my most memorable moment, I'll say our first summit. Um,
Mm,
that
okay.
was, yeah, that was like a good moment there. Even though there's like more, but like that was like a big moment when we finally like got people to coming from different career paths, to come and talk to us about life and many different things. So that was one of my more memorable moments.
Now, for the listeners, because we have a lot of young men who may not attend Eagle, let alone Eagle Harlem, who are listening. What was that summit?
That's like when we had like David Banner come.
Mm,
Yeah, he's very big on the black community, and we had like boxers come through. We had firefighters. Um, we had a lot of talkers, like powerful speakers. We had Sherman Brown. He's from Aim High, and yeah,
okay, all right. So it was a day where you had speakers come and speak to you about
yeah,
career options, and okay, fantastic.
honestly, yeah.
And Nakai, how about you? What's your most memorable moment?
Just like Joshua, I got a lot. I got a lot of memorable moments. Even up to leading up to senior year. Like I could go and say convocation, but I'm gonna go back a little further. My favorite moment is actually my beginning, my very, very, very beginning of my Eagle journey, and that was Summer Bridge. Summer Bridge coming in the ninth grade was so like, if I could just describe it, it was lit. Like I just remember, I remember going into Eagle for the first day, and I already felt the energy and the vibe that I assume like my older cousin Brenton James, he's the first Eagle Ivy League send off. Everything he told me about Eagle, what to expect and how to maneuver, I got that and more. So Eagle has always kind of been on my eyes before I was even in like middle school. I was like, I want to go to that school. I want to go to that school. And so coming to Summer Bridge, it was like amazing because I just remember like feeling like this vibe of like seriousness and seriousness but fun. You know what I'm saying? So it was like it was a little bit of just relaxed, but like I like being around the brothers and everything felt organized and structured. So Summer Bridge, that whole week was just amazing. I met one of probably the most influential educators I've ever met, Miss C.L.E.A.R Washington. She has been like awesome. So that's when I met her. I met a few brothers there who I'm still close with today, who I'm graduating with as well. So Summer Bridge for me was like just it felt so welcoming and I enjoyed every single minute of it. So that was definitely my favorite Eagle memory is like Summer Bridge. Like I still think back to it to this day.
Mm-hmm. Now you got to come back and work at a Summer Bridge one year as well, right?
Of course,
I know you had
yeah.
it.
That's
I
my
was
goal.
actually I was supposed to do it last year, but me and Sharon too, we were in Costa Rica at the time, so we couldn't even participate. But yeah, I definitely want to come back and come to some bridge and teach the younger Eagles what to expect and how to move and becoming a chicken and forming yourself into an eagle by the time you leave our doors. So yeah, I'm excited.
Right, right. And it's funny you talk about legacy, right? You were the first. And that's what
Yeah,
part of establishing a legacy is about, right? You go through those trials and tribulations and then you come back and make it easier for those that come behind you. It's supposed to be harder for
yeah,
you, right? And that's what and so to who much is given, much is required, right? And so as the Trailblazers, you are given that title.
yeah.
But you earned it and you certainly gained a lot of wisdom along the way to pass along. Sharon, how about
Yeah.
you?
Much like Nakai, my favorite Eagle memory is actually our sixth grade summer bridge. Coming in 11, 12 years old and walking into a gymnasium saying, all right, put blindfolds on. And then we're going to walk around the block. Like I was kind of taken back, but then I did it reluctantly, and then just seeing how we've grown from 6th to 12th grade now, and all of the relationships we've shared, we've grown closer. I just think that first day of 6th grade was probably the most defining moment to me.
Mm. Okay. Well, it's interesting, right? Because you all gave different answers, but one thing that I know that really connects any Eagle student, any Eagle school, is a sense of brotherhood. And you guys are all graduating. You're all seniors. Again, you were the first to go through Summer Bridge. You were the first to get your convocation jackets, the first to go through the tie ceremony, all of the different things about Eagle, you were the first to go through. But, you know, there's something I want you guys to talk about that's very impressive, and it's always been impressive to me, is how you almost, despite a level of brotherhood at Eagle, you established another layer of brotherhood by forming a group called Dynasty, right? And so a lot of people across the network may not know about Dynasty. So Joshua, if you could just start by just informing the audience, what is Dynasty, and why is it important that the individuals of Dynasty leave a lasting legacy at Eagle Harlem?
So Dynasty was we created that group because we wanted to impact the culture of our school, because we felt like it was coming, like the culture was going down.
Mm.
So, you know, me and my other Eagle brothers, we came together. We used to do meetings Mondays and Wednesdays, to talk about things, and like to talk about things that will help us, bring the culture back to the way it was. Um, so it was just a group to do everything and anything basically. We was like a mentor, or we were like a fake dean of the school too. So yeah, we was just like the group that would like do everything and anything.
So it's funny because you said you guys were like the fake deans, right? So it's funny when you're the first class, it's like you're the big brother. And it's interesting, right? Because every group behind you has the luxury of having a big brother, but you guys were the first and you didn't have that luxury. And so it was, a sign of leadership that you came together to address something that you saw was becoming an issue in the school. And so Nakai, what were some of those things, right? I know Joshua mentioned that you guys served as mentors to the younger guys. What were some of the things that you tried to impart on them?
So specifically on the younger Eagles,
Yes.
I would say for me, I'm going to speak for me on this one. And what I try to implement on guys, is sort of telling them, and I used to, I tried to target the guys who you would say who were troubled, so to say. What I tried to implement on them is that, to have a lot of the guys at Eagle have social capital, right? And so instead of, having a bunch of you just, goofing off in class, or, doing things you're not supposed to be doing. For example, Joshua said that the culture was really taking it downhill. It was being it was just becoming super playful, and, folks weren't taking what was going on serious. So what I tried to implement for the guys was a way to kind of just have them use that social capital, and all, like a lot of these guys had they had impact on each other. You know what I'm saying? We all had influence on each other. So why not use that into, turning it into something good? You know what I'm saying? Like, be the guy in the classroom, and, all these guys right here, Sharon, Joshua, and Dante, we could all speak to this. It was always kind of hard to be the guy to kind of stick out and say, yo, stop playing, bro. Like, what are you doing? You know what I'm saying? Like, because, the culture is just infested with just playfulness and immaturity. So it will be hard, but me personally, I tried to get guys to kind of use their social capital, use the influence they have on the school community, and to turn it into something more so where we could get more serious and understand that there's a time and place for everything. And that's kind of what I did. You know what I'm saying? Like, I felt that was most important. I felt like character development could always transfer into academic development. So if we just kind of change the the attitude of guys and get them to be aware of what they got going on, then after I said that, everything else would take care of itself. Like once you got that going on, everything else is gone. It's just a process at this point. So that's what I tried to implement, was really just trying to get guys to, shy away from the playfulness and lean more into like the seriousness and getting, things done in order for us to build as a school community.
And that's a great point, right? Like, again, when you talk about character development, right, I think that has to come before the academics. You have to understand why it's important for you to do your best in class and for you to succeed. And those young men, like you said, with the social capital, once you get them to tap into that positive leadership ability that they have, they can transform the world. They can
sort of using your powers for good, if that makes sense. Like right. I've heard that always. I've watched a lot of superhero movies growing up. Like they say, use your powers for good. With great power comes great responsibility. And so if you have like, I've seen so many, especially the middle school. I've seen them like it's like 3 kids in the middle school. I forget their names, but it's like 3 of them. I just know them by face, but like they're like the leaders of the middle school. And like, like you literally tell, like, I feel like those kids, they could say, let's all jump off this building, and they'll for real do it. So what I tried to get them to understand is that, like, y'all got so much power and so much influence. There's only 3 of y'all in the entire middle school. Do you know what you could do with that? And so that's what I tried to get to, not only to the middle school guy, but some of us high school guys. And I just tried to get that going, like, use your powers for good, man.
Now, are they going to carry the torch of Dynasty when you guys graduate?
That's something I would love to see. I would love to have that, be in full effect. I would warm my heart, to like, go do undergrad, come back maybe and see like, this is the group like we did, like, they do, oh, that's fire. Like that really would make me feel like, it's some sort of legacy. Like that right there will make us feel like, I will feel like that it would be the feeling of bringing that first championship to a franchise. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the feeling that will make me have. So I would love to see that happen. If we could sort of like, have it be so instilled in people that it's going to be an ongoing thing. And then, we could always probably do a little bit of pop up here and there, on one of their meetings, unexpected, let them know like, this is what it is. You know what I'm saying? So I would love for that to happen 100%.
Yeah, and I'll even say you don't necessarily even have to wait until you finish undergrad, right? Like you coming back to the school next year, right? When you guys come home for your breaks and things of that nature, just to check in on them, right? Because again, it's important that they are living the legacy that you left, right? Like that cannot be underscored at all, right? Everything from the reciting of Invictus daily to wearing the uniform the right way, right? That is a legacy that you guys laid, and it's important that continues. Sharon, I'm going to start this question with you, right? Recently, we've seen a lot of injustices when it comes to young men of color in dealing with this COVID crisis. Disproportionate right, young people of color have been targeted by the police, and that is actually being addressed. As a matter of fact, the NYPD actually came out with a statement today saying that moving forward, they will no longer be issuing summonses or arrests, right, as it deals with infractions related to facial coverings. But you guys had an incident at your school last year that involved a police officer who exhibited some misconduct towards a student. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Right. And I know that Dynasty and some other young men at the school were instrumental in addressing that, right? Could you just explain to the audience what that incident was, and how did you as young men at the school get involved to address that injustice that you had witnessed?
A big misunderstanding between the 32nd precinct, which is right down the block from our school, and then our school as well. There was schools that surrounded us. They was having altercations and stuff, and I don't know, 32nd precinct just took it upon themselves to come up 135th and just did do what they did. And we just felt like that was uncalled for and it was unacceptable. And we couldn't just sit back and just let it happen without it going addressed. So we just came together, like everybody that was involved, those who wasn't involved but felt like they had the right to speak up, because at the end of the day, we are a family, we are brothers. And so we just all came together, brainstormed ideas on how we could try to, one, bridge the relationship again, because that was our first real interaction with them, and just make sure like it'll never happen again.
Now, again, now you all may be familiar with the incident, but if you could just, again, make it kind of clear for the audience, like what happened on that day? Was it after school? Like what exactly took place that required for you guys to speak up and intervene?
It was a day after school. Everybody was down at the store on the corner, and we were just outside chilling. It was right after school, so everybody was outside. It was a nice day, I believe, too.
Yeah.
And then the cops just came to the corner and was telling everybody like to just evacuate, move. But we were confused because we didn't know what was happening. And so everybody was just like, why do we have to leave? This is like we go to school here. Like we just got out. So people want to come to the store, get something to eat, but they just wasn't going for it. They wasn't listening. And then they started to use force. And then we were all just taken back by it. And we acted the way they acted, and that was probably the wrong thing to do on our part. But again, they came at us the way they did without giving us a reason or explanation on why we had to leave so suddenly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I understand that, unfortunately, right, I know I've been at the target of police misconduct at times, and you want to react like that, but we can't, right, because, that will only be a license for us to be harmed even further, right? And so we have to handle it the right way. And Dante, I know you were involved in that as well, right? In terms of just the response to it, as far as helping organize the students.
Yeah, for sure. So on that actual day, I was kind of heading out because I had a prior obligation, just because I was in a College Now program. But when I got back and I understood what was going on, that's really when like the whole dynasty like took off to do, instead of like school community building, like just the outreach in the community itself, because we as a community, as a brotherhood, we have to go outside on these same blocks, same streets, and we have to interact with the police every day. So it's just the fact that like, okay, now we have to build a relationship with them because there was a misunderstanding. And if something like that were to happen again, which we know might be inevitable sometimes, but like that way we have that bond where it's the fact that like, okay, now they're able to listen to us instead of just responding based off what they see.
Oh, okay, right. So as an organization, you brought the community together, and then you established some lines of communication with the officers, and then that kind of helped bring some calm, if you will, to the situation.
Yeah.
Okay, great. And that definitely sounds like a great strategy. And as a result of after that incident, as a result of you coming together, have the relations between the students of Eagle Harlem and those officers, has that improved?
I would say most definitely it has improved, just off the fact that now when they come and they do like scanning, so like they bring the machines, or when the NYPD is just in the building off of itself, many of the scholars actually like know them by name now. So like now they just have that relationship where it's like, oh, hey, what's up? And then now that there's better chemistry, so it doesn't feel like so much tension.
Right. Yeah, that's key. And again, I know, going back to you, Josh, right, I think that's why it's so critical that we do have more officers of color. Like we need police officers, right, because they protect our community and we need them, right? But there has to be a respectful relationship, a two-way street relationship, where respect is mutual. And so I'm glad that you guys were proactive as the leaders of the school, right, to bring the community together to address that. Relationships are key, but unfortunately, right, we still will have those officers out there that will, conduct themselves in a way that's not appropriate. And recently, unfortunately, we've had a couple incidences that are on the national news, right? I know I poured libation for Miss Breonna Taylor, right? And she was she was killed by police officers who went in her house unjustly, right? There's a brother Quentin Suttles from Buffalo, right? And that video is circulating now. where he was mistreated by the police. Even the incident that involved the young man at your school, to bring awareness to the community, the incident was videotaped, correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
And as a result of it being videotaped, there was a certain level of awareness that was brought to the community, and it also allowed that officer to be accountable for what he did. But let me ask you guys this. As the warm weather approaches, right? And again, I know I mentioned that NYPD just came out with their new policy on enforcing, those that aren't wearing masks. There won't be any summonses or arrests. But as the warm weather approaches, there unfortunately may be more unfair situations like we have seen recently with NYPD. How have your interactions been with police during this time, or maybe those of your friends that you'd like to reflect on? And what are ways that your brothers can deal with these situations as they may arise involving police conduct that won't result in their death?
This is to Joshua.
No, you can start, Nakai, if you like.
Yeah, go ahead.
So me specifically, like this was like the other day, like I would say it's like 2 weeks ago. I was with my cousin Jay Quan. He's my favorite cousin. That's him, me and Brenton. Like we always say, yeah, Jay Quan's probably like the favorite cousin. All love to y'all out there, but like, that's homie. So I'm with my cousin Jay Quan. And we walking, and we walking through Joyce Kilmer Park on 162 and a Grand Concourse, going towards Yankee Stadium. And I told him, I said, yo, we was walking for about 20 minutes at this point. And I told him, I said, yo, I ain't gonna lie, you didn't even peep, but the cops is dead following us. Like when I'm talking, like it was like maybe 9:30 at night, so it's dark outside. And so we walking through this park, and I'm telling him, I'm like, yo, the cops is for real, like following us. It got to the point where I knew specifically the cops was following us. Like I obviously knew that when they literally drove in the park, like in the walkway of the park. They're driving on the walkway, and I'm like, yo, like we're really getting followed right now. Like I was like, that's really crazy. We make a right to go on the right side because the park has multiple exits. So we go on the right side, and they made a right as well. So I'm like, yeah, they following us. So it was kind of like, if it was a sense of uncomfort. And I honestly feel like this new just rule of stopping people without masks, even though we did have masks. This new rule of stopping people without masks or whatever, I feel like it's a new stopping force. Like I seen a statistic the other day on social media, and it said at this stage in gentrification in New York City, over half of Brooklyn is white. Half of people in Brooklyn are white. However, how come out of all the social distancing summons that was given out, 85% of those were given to people of color? So how does it make sense? So that's how I felt. So to the brothers out there on how to handle situations like that, and what I told my cousin, because he's the hothead, I said, you know what, just be calm. We're gonna walk. We're not going to entertain the stereotype. We're not going to do none of that. And so I definitely feel like, without a doubt, since this whole social distancing and giving people summons for not going by social distancing and stay at home orders, it's definitely been some tension. Like I've seen multiple videos of police misconduct and whatnot. So just be calm, just try to comply as much as it hurts. I understand, because these officers, they get rowdy, they do things out of pocket, and you want to react, like it's so crazy, because they have to also be aware, like you said, it's a two-way street with the relationship. Y'all have to aware, like, our people, we have a history of miscommunication and misconduct with y'all. So it's not even like just us being rowdy, but it's like what we already expect from y'all. So like, honestly, to the brothers out there, just comply, because at the end of the day, we want you to get back home alive at the end of the day. So that's what I'll say, how to handle it. It's just comply and do what you can. Yeah.
Yeah, that to add on that, the most important thing is to do is get an understanding of where the officers come in, and also remaining calm. I don't think we should like get out of character for something that is small. We don't want things to get out of hand, because we know at the end of the day, if we do one wrong thing, my thing is, for what I tell people to do is, because you know I know how to comply with officers, because
Go ahead, bro.
so talking about the situation, how to comply for like the younger brothers. I was saying, like, remain calm and don't get out of character, and try to get the understanding where the officer is coming from. We that's the most important thing, because I drive, so if I was to get pulled over, I will try to get the understanding why I got pulled over, or sometimes our metric card only works at 8:30, and if we pass it, we some kids hop the train, and we know it's wrong, you know, and the officer will understand that. So I'll say, try to get the understanding of what's going on. Also, I'll say, remain calm, and do not get out of character. We got to learn those things on how to interact with officers.
Yeah, I think Nick and Josh hit the nail on the head. It's just, don't let your ego get in the way of like your conscience. Like, if like the way you feel like you're gonna react isn't the right way, just take a step back and just evaluate the situation. Just don't just fly off the handle. If you feel like the cop is disrespecting you, don't get disrespectful back, because they have all right to do what they do because of their badge. So I think, to avoid situations like that, just remain calm, like they said. Just remain calm. That's it.
Well, and I'm gonna shift to you in a second, Dante, because I think those are all great points, right? You definitely want to remain calm. You want to follow the directives of the officer. The advice I give you guys is speak your movements, right? So, officer might stop you. They might say, let me have your ID, right? Before you reach in your pocket, you want to say to him, officer, I'm reaching, is it okay if I reach in my pocket, right? I get my ID, right? You want to be respectful. You want to, don't make any, sudden movements, all of those different things. But that actually leads me to my next question, Dante, right? Because though you might do all those things, you might still have an officer who is not appropriate with his conduct. And if that happens, what should you do? There are things that you can do. Dante, how would you answer that question?
Most
You might not be able to fight it at the moment, but you can fight it at a later moment. So what could you do to set yourself up for that?
I know a couple things that you could do is you could somehow try to use their own system against them, because I know that, like, when you ask for their supervisor, that's what they're supposed to get on the phone with, radio down and call. And then also another one is use your camera. That as well as what we've seen a lot now is people reporting their interactions with the police and law enforcement, just because that's their right. That's what they have the right to do. And then they want evidence of the fact that they were doing everything they were told. And then the officer was still getting, overheated. And then they just took the situation to another level.
Yeah, video camera plays a major role, right, in bringing awareness to these issues, right? And the one thing that I'll tell you guys also is, if you're ever in a situation like that, try to, and say you might not be with someone who's videotaping it, and it's just you, right? Try to remember the officer's badge number or his name, because what you want to do is, number one, survive the incident, right? Again, you don't want to do anything to justify them taking your life. But what you can do is you can remember their name, you can remember their badge number to the best of your ability, and then you can bring that to the Civilian Complaints Review Board. And the Civilian Complaints Review Board, what they do is they investigate these incidences, right? So, perfect example is what took place in Staten Island with Eric Garner, right? There was something that took place unjustly, right? He lost his life as a result of that police interaction, but that officer who was mainly responsible was held accountable, not only because of the video, right, but because it was brought to that Civilian Complaints Review Board, like charges were brought up upon him, and he lost his pension. And so that really hit him hard. And so, again, I think those were all great suggestions. Again, as the summer months progress, the interactions with the police may increase, right? And so the main objective is to survive that interaction. And if some report needs to be filed against that officer, just know what your rights are and the steps needed to handle that. And we're actually going to have another episode of Staying Clear Through Crisis before the school year ends that focuses strictly on that, right? So that young men are equipped with the tools needed to survive those interactions. But Nakai, as we approach closing out, I did want to ask you a question in regards to your social media platform, your podcast that you started, right? So, as a young man, and you've taken your community activism to another level by starting this podcast. So could you just please speak to the audience about why you started it, what it is, and how the members of Dynasty have been supportive to you in helping you get things off the ground?
Yeah. So first to start off, so I thought of my podcast. I'm gonna tell a little story here. So I thought of my podcast. It was, I want to say 2 years ago. So it was the summer of 2018. And I remember I was sitting. I had got my first internships through Futures and Options. And I was sitting at my desk, and I finished the task that I was given, and I just remember I was like, "Yo, what is something I can do that I'm good at and I can profit off of, but also help people at the same time?" And so, whatever, I thought of the Santiago Show. And I knew exactly what I wanted to do for it. I realized that as my generation, I feel like we're a very misunderstood generation. And if you look at all of the different aspects of it, right? So, for example, a common one is hip hop. My generation is the generation, the people who gave birth to mumble rap or stuff like that, right? And I realized that with that, it became a sense of, I guess, it was a disconnection between the older generation and the newer generation, my generation. So I wanted to find a way to have my generation, have our voices be heard. And so, I made the Santiago Show, and I started, this is going to be a platform where I'm going to grab any friend, any one of my friends, childhood friend, school friend, whatever, and just get on and just get your voice heard. And I said that because, everybody just wants their voice heard. Like, literally, who doesn't want their opinions, and everybody wants some sort of validation. And to get your voice heard, I feel like that would help you with that. So I made it to a platform for teens, young adults, and everybody to just come on and say what they want. And with that, it became something, I thought of that, and I thought it would be something just so little, but it's actually been growing increasingly over the months. I'm 2 years in. I've only been recording for a year. So I thought of the idea a year before I started my first episode. So, and I'm still going. Everything is still a process. So that's what it was for. And, I just really wanted to get my generation, our voices heard. And I felt like that was the right call. Like I said, the podcast is growing monthly. Everything is, slowly falling into place. I'm doing the best I can, just being a 18-year-old kid. So it's like, it's hard, but, I'm continuing to go in, and the earlier I start, the better. So that's what it was about, man. It was about just getting the youth voice heard. I have a voice myself. Many people can agree as well. And so I was like, all right, let me chip into that. Let me lean into that. So I did that. And yeah, it got better as time went on. I mean, I go back and listen to my first episode, and it's so cringy because it's like, that's when I was like a rookie. I was starting, the audio's all choppy, and it's like, oh no, I don't really like that. But then I put out this newer episode and everything else, and I get people texting me directly, and they're like, yo, this is good. This is talent right here. And so I'm taking it with me to college. I'm taking it, going major in broadcast journalism. And yeah, that's what it's about, man. The Santiago Show. Find it on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Soon be on YouTube. I'm working on the video for it. Everything's gonna be cool. Everything's gonna be great. So thankful for everybody supporting so far. And yeah, that's that. That's all about my podcast.
That's what's up, man. Say it again. Where can people tune in to listen?
So you can tune in via Spotify and Apple Podcasts. If you have an iPhone, Apple Podcasts is already downloaded, so don't worry about it. Spotify, you can view it on there too. You don't need to pay. I know some people pay for Spotify, but you can go on there. You can listen to it for absolutely free. It will soon be on YouTube. I'm working on the video part. I'm teaching myself how to edit. I'm teaching myself about a green screen, how to work with all that. So it's moving, man. Everything moving.
That's fantastic, fantastic. So Dante, I'm going to shift to you because Nakai mentioned something very important, right? Is that the young people need a voice, and that's why we started this broadcast as well, right? Because we wanted to provide a platform for Eagle students to come on and just express how they feel, and so I want to talk to you really quickly about the Ahmaud Arbery case that's taking place in Georgia. The young brother who was unfortunately, he lost his life unjustly, right? So the question I have for you, Dante, is this. What are your thoughts on how the case has been treated so far? And again, we go back to the notion of video. How instrumental was the use of video in bringing the injustice that you saw happen? How instrumental was the use of video in bringing that incident to light, as well as the incident that happened to your brother at the school?
Definitely. So the whole Armand case is just the fact that, based on the video, like what we see is him being followed. And like, I remember us chopping it up earlier, all of us, and speaking about how the context of the video itself wasn't to be, I guess, shown light on the fact that he was a potential target. It was just based on the fact that the person who was recording it may have taken it as like, okay, this is finna be a joke. And then that video got leaked to platforms on social media such as Instagram, Facebook, and etc., to the point where it gained so much recognition and acknowledgement from people that they realized that this was a problem. And then the way it's being handled now, since it's received such hype and everybody knows about it, it's the fact that like people are like, they're on it. And it's just like, it's crazy to think that like a couple years ago, if somebody would have seen a video of another black male or a person of color being targeted like this, it would have taken multiple years or multiple months for that police officer or that person who potentially harmed that person's life to be prosecuted or indicted and things like that. So.
Right, and going back to the incident that you were talking about earlier that took place at your school, I know there was a video. How instrumental was that video in bringing awareness to the community and ensuring that officer was held accountable?
Oh, that was definitely impactful, just off the fact that that school has been there for so long. Not even Eagle itself, but the building itself. So kids that go there, they're known for being there. And then on top of the fact that Eagle has become such, a big thing now, it's like, okay, the kids have become a very big part in their community. And it's like, all right, we have parents who care about our community. We have parents who come to this building every day to support their children. And it's like, okay, now we have that precinct who's supposed to protect those same kids. And then they're doing this to us. That's kind of a problem for them. And that's how we try to navigate that kind of space.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So again, it's interesting. We talked about the Ahmaud Arbery case. It was social media that really broke that case open. It wasn't the mainstream media. And so again, we talk about things that you can do to kind of protect yourselves. Again, I don't encourage you to pull out your phone and videotape an officer, right, yourself, right? But if you're with someone, that's the greatest thing, a great tool that can be used to ensure that justice is being served, and that if misconduct does happen, that it is addressed. So as we approach winding down, have a question for you guys around your house icons. It's something we do on this show where we ask our guests about quotes from house icons at their schools and their interpretations of them. And I know at your school, you have a Muhammad Ali house, Langston Hughes, Arturo Schomburg, and Nelson Mandela. And so I will start with Sharon. I'll start with you, brother, right? From a quote from Nelson Mandela, right? And if you guys didn't know, the poem Invictus that we recite every day was recited by Nelson Mandela when, he was spending his time on Robbins Island. And the quote from Nelson Mandela that I'd like for you to interpret is, it always seems impossible until it's done. And if you could explain to you for us what you think that quote means, and what element of C.L.E.A.R does that quote align to? It always seems impossible until it's done.
The quote by Nelson Mandela, to me, I feel like it means like you always have to have a certain level of fearlessness, bravery, just like heart. Like, okay, things may seem like rough or challenging, but it's like it's not really something to get discouraged by. Just go for it. And then when you do it, you feel like, wow, if I can do this, then I can do anything. And I just feel like the part of C.L.E.A.R, I feel like it embodies is like confidence, like in yourself and your ability to just be able to go and knock out anything you want to do, anything you can imagine. Yeah.
Thank you for that, brother. Thank you. I will move now to, why don't we go to Josh, right? We got a quote from Muhammad Ali. I know you're a boxer, brother. And this quote that he has is, "It isn't the mountains ahead to climb that wear you out. It's the pebble in your shoe."
Uh, the quote may be very short, but that quote has a very deep meaning to it. And that deep meaning is, don't worry about what's ahead of you, worry about what's in front of you. So that mountain that's gonna wear you out, don't worry about it right now if you can't handle the little pebbles that's in front of you. So to me, that's what that quote means to me. So that's what I think of when I hear that quote.
Okay, all right, and you're absolutely right. Um, Muhammad Ali went through a whole lot, right? When he got his title taken from him, that was the pebble in his shoe. But the mountain, right, for him was to make a statement, and he stood strong by that. And so that quote right there is a powerful one that I hope that you do live by. Dante, we're gonna shift to Schomburg, Arturo Schomburg, great historian. His quote is, "The American Negro must remake his past in order to make his future. History must restore what slavery took away."
So that quote to me, it just means that we, as the disadvantaged community, we have to work harder to build ourselves a better platform and a better future. Just off the fact that now, like being taught in schools or being taught in history books, was the fact that slavery, or the building of our city wasn't done by those of color. The fact that slavery took so much from us and it like kind of discouraged our people, it kind of demeaned them to the point where like we're quote unquote nothing. It's just the fact that like we have to go back and reteach our people that we come from greatness and we have done great things already. So why can't we be successful in the future as well? Like we have to just continue to do what we've always been doing. So that's what that quote means to me.
Absolutely, and for me, when I hear that quote, I think about all of the things that that define us besides the slavery experience. Sometimes the history books will only talk about, right, our time in captivity, but there's so much more that, right, people of color have achieved. And even when we talk about the kingdoms of Africa, right, and so to educate yourself about your origins and your people is the best thing that you can do. And so we'll shift to Nakai with a quote from Langston Hughes. And you are a member of Hughes House, from what I understand. And this quote is, hold fast to dreams, for if dreams die, life is a broken winged bird that cannot fly.
What that quote means to me, so I actually like that quote a lot. I'm gonna actually write it down after this because that's something that I go through all the time. Talking about this with a friend, with this podcast stuff, is you feel every emotion. 1 minute you're happy, you're like, yes, everything's moving. And then 1 minute you're frustrated and sad. So when you're chasing your dreams, when you're going for what you're going for, now to answer the question about the quote, when you're chasing your dreams and what you're going for, whatever you're going for, whether you want to hoop, whether you want to, be an entrepreneur, whether you want to be an engineer, whether you want to, do whatever you want, you're going to feel every emotion. However, you can't, the only thing that's going to, stand you up from those who are on the same, same grind as you is don't quit. And so that's what that quote is saying is, look, you're going to go through it. You're going to be frustrated, but you just got to, stay at it, be determined, and, don't let those dreams die. Because once they die, then like it's a broken wing. You as the person now, you can't fly. So it's like, you feel me? Once you let your dreams go, once you like, I think it's time for me to, hang the laces up if I'm hooping or to get to, stop working on that business idea because it's not going to go somewhere. Once you do that, and I feel bad for you if you do that, because once you do that, you lost, man. So it's like, don't let your dreams die, and I feel like that's something that, I wish I knew sometimes as a younger kid, like everybody wanted to be a hooper. Everybody wanted to be, the next Eli Manning or whatever the case is, whatever. And so, but we let people put stuff into our ears. We see things in society. You let people tell you, oh, you can't shoot. You're not tall enough, or you're not smart enough. You're not fast enough. You're not strong enough. And so once you do that, you let that sink in, you let your dreams die, and therefore you can't fly. So that's what that quote is saying. It's just keep at it, keep going, and the only person stopping you is you. Yeah.
And what element of clear would you say that defines? Would you say resilience?
Resilience is definitely one, but also confidence, because it takes a lot of confidence for you to take some criticism and keep going. Like that's crazy confidence right there. Like it's hard. Like started my podcast, like I heard from other podcasters in the podcast community, I've heard it like, yo, like whack, right? But it's like you got to take that and you got to run with it. You got to be able to have that confidence to go again. Like, all right, you said it was this, all right, but I'm gonna go again. And so it shows resilience, so it shows confidence, and it shows leadership too. It shows leadership because you kind of, maybe there's someone, not even maybe, there is somebody going through the same thing that you're going through, but probably just in a different field. And when they see that you would get knocked down and stand right back up, you're the first one to do that, my man, that's leadership right there. And you got that other person getting ready to go. So that's confidence, that's leadership, and that's resilience.
Okay. And on that note, let me double back to Dante real quick. I know I gave you the quote from Arturo Schomburg. What element of clear does your quote connect to?
Oh, definitely leadership. You got to take charge of your own destiny, that you want to be. So.
And then I would also say academic excellence as well, right? Again, learning, it goes beyond the four walls of the school, right? You should always educate yourself. And Josh, how about your quote from Ali? Did you mention that?
No, I didn't. I'll say resilience though. Confidence too.
Mm-hmm.
And leadership, because Muhammad Ali was a leader. So definitely those three.
Great. And again, so we don't take that acronym of CLEAR lightly, right? We want you to embody that, live that every single day, remain Eagle Clear, right? So last question I have for you guys, and we're going to wrap up, is, and I'll start with Sharon, I'll go around. None of us get to where we are by ourselves. What educators would you like to acknowledge that played a special role in your growth and development while you've been at Eagle?
Since sixth grade, right? I haven't not always like the stand-up guy. We all have our like own issues. And me personally, my temper kind of gets the best of me sometimes. And so like Miss Washington, she's the principal now. Miss Trexler, since sixth grade, really, they've always been the ones in my corner, like, listen, you're okay. Just keep calm. Don't, just go crazy. Like, just stay in you. Like, don't overthink everything. Just stay calm, remain calm. And I feel like without them, I probably wouldn't be the person I am today. So I just want to thank them for everything that they've done and that they'll continue to do as I age.
Nice. Dante, how about you?
So this just one person in particular. I know two people. My fault. It's just Miss Washington, Miss C.L.E.A.R Washington, the same as Sharon. I met her when we were both like 11, 12 years old. And I remember my first day at Stone Bridge, I actually got in trouble. I was in detention. I was kind of whack. He talked me down and being, upset, and just reminded me that I have somewhere else better to be in the future. And that really stuck with me. So she's always been like a guiding hand. And then the next person is Mr. Devertil. He was my advisory teacher in middle school, and he always taught me like the importance of staying sharp and looking clean, because you got to represent yourself and you got to look the best, because people are always watching. And if you want to look good, or if you want to look good and do good, you got to feel good sometimes. So that's how it is. If you ever seen that man, he fresh always.
Always fresh and clean. Great example, brother Nakai. How about you?
So I've been at Eagle since ninth grade. And it's been like an amazing experience, man. But obviously Miss Lakia Washington has been, the backbone to all of our Eagle journeys. Like, she's been there for us to support us. So she's definitely up there. But I gotta give a huge thank you to Dr. Mahalio Bethia, our founding principal at Eagle. And I got to give him a thank you for a couple reasons. The first reason is that was the first African American man I've seen, you know, as a principal, you know, and so to have him as my principal at that was absolutely inspiring. And one story in particular I never forget with Principal Bethia was when he actually was. So I live in Harlem, not too far from the school, and he was leaving the school as well, and we legit walked home together. And I said, wow. When I got home, I said, wow. I never thought the day I would walk home with my principal, because in previous schools, I have principals who's white and they live in upstate, or they live in Connecticut, or they live in Jersey, and nowhere where I never even seen my principal, you know, outside of school. So to walk with my principal and see him have a suit on, but like just walking shoes and just kind of talking with me, I was like, it was super inspiring, and it was kind of like just exciting, because it kind of showed me what I can do, you know. And it's like, and at that, Bethia, as young as he is, he did all that with the age he's at. So it was just like really inspiring, and I have to thank him for that. But for showing us what great leadership is. Eagle, as great as it is, it can be hard dealing with a bunch of young men. You know, we have days where, you know, we're not in the mood, or, you know, something going on at home. And as men, we carried that weight on our shoulders. But for him to come into the building every day and lead our school and to make the right decisions on things, it's absolutely just mind blowing. So he has definitely been an inspiration for me. He's been someone who I know that if I need, although he's not the principal no more, I can always, you know, find a way to contact him. And he just kind of showed me, you know, what I'm capable of doing, because he's like me. And so he's been a huge factor in my Eagle experience. And he's actually the first principal. I never told him this. He's the first principal that knew my name. No lie. He's the first principal that knew my name. Like right. I had two principals before him. I've been to two schools, middle school and elementary. And neither of the principals knew my name. Like, I didn't even speak to my principal. He's the first principal who came to me as like, good morning, Mr. Santiago. And I'm like, yo, you know my name? All right, cool. So all of that is just, it's the little things. It's the little things that he used to do, you know, and I appreciate it. A principal who wasn't always in the office, but was playing hallway duty, like get to class. I've never had that before. Never had that, who could get up and address the school. And so I appreciate that. I appreciate all the little things, you know, Bethia did. It's big things too, but he did a lot of small things in our school that really, really had an impact on me and a lot of other kids. So that has really been a great educator, and absolutely, you know, praise to him, man. Yeah.
Okay. Again, yeah. But big shout out to Principal Bethia, right? He loves you guys, and I know he's very proud of the success that you've been able to attain. Brother Josh.
There's a lot to people to think in Eagle Harlem. To be honest, is as I sit here and hear everybody, you know, who they pick, I kind of really don't know who to pick. It's really difficult, but
so pick them all.
Washington the GOAT. That's what it is.
I'll pick them all. I want a special thank you to Ms. Washington. She actually made me like bring out more of my academic out of me. Like, I wasn't really like too much of like, oh yeah, I'll just put a little bit of effort. She made me bring out all my effort. I want to say thank you to Mr. Brathwaite. He's not there anymore, but Mr. Brathwaite, he played a huge part in like my Eagle experience. Like, you know, I wasn't really good in algebra, but he made me pass that algebra test. So big ups to him. Mr. Easton, he's not there either, but that was like another history class, even though he was teaching English. So I want to give a special thanks to him, because we learned a lot by W.E.B. Du Bois.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yo, we stayed on W.E.B. Du Bois the entire year. Oh my God.
Yeah. Well, listen, brothers, man, you know, again, it's been fantastic having you here. Again, my hat goes off to you being the Trailblazers. I know it's a little tough because this is your first graduating class, right? And because of this crisis, there'll be a delay in your graduation ceremony. But again, my hat goes off to you. My hat goes off to all of your brothers, the other guys that are graduating. There's nothing like the first, right? There'll be and I know Brenton very well, right? Brother Nakaj, Brenton was a fantastic student at Eagle Bronx, but he wasn't part of that first class, right? And that first class really stands out. And because again, you laid the groundwork and the foundation. And the one thing that I'll say to you guys, as you graduate and you go off to your schools and you come back and you have conversations with Eagles that are there, be unapologetic about your Eagleness. Be unapologetic about the love that you have for Eagle. When you step on these college campuses, be that confident leader, right? That demonstrated your effort to be there, right? Be academically excellent. Always remember to be resilient. But what I'll say on top of that, on all of those is, like I said, be unapologetically Eagle. You know, Eagle Academy is a school, but being an Eagle is about the spirit that you have in you, and that you have that drive and that determination to always succeed no matter what the obstacles are. And never forget that. Never let your brothers forget that. And never let the brothers that are coming behind you forget that, because there's effort that's put in to establishing a legacy. And I wanted to bring you guys on to demonstrate the effort, that's in C.L.E.A.R, that you all have done during your time at Eagle. So again, thank you so much for joining us, guys. We will close out like we normally do with our Invictus, right? Another tradition of Eagle. This is a source of inspiration and resilience that we say every single day. And we want you to carry this well beyond your years of Eagle Academy. So let's say it strong for the audience. Say it strong to represent Eagle Harlem. Invictus straight.
Out of the night that covers me, black as the pit from pole to pole, I thank whatever gods may be for my unconquerable soul.
In the fell clutch of circumstance, I have not winced nor cried aloud. Under the bludgeonings of chance, my head is bloody, but I'm bowed.
Beyond this place of wrath and tears, looms but the horror of shade, and yet the menace of the years find and shall find me unafraid.
It matters not. Charge with punishments to scroll. I'm the master of my fate. I'm the captain of my soul.
I'm the master of my fate. I'm the captain of my soul.
I'm the master of my fate. I'm the captain of my soul.
I'm the master of my fate, and I'm the captain of my soul.
We are the masters of our fate, captains of our soul. Again, thank you so much, young brothers. We invite the audience to join us for the next installment of our Staying Clear Through Crisis, which is next Friday, 3:30 p.m. Want to give a special shout out to my team at the Eagle Foundation that chips in to make this broadcast happen. In particular, want to thank Nancy, Malcolm, Maddie Fuego for all of the hard work that they put in to make sure that this broadcast happens. And also, guys, just so you know, Malcolm X's birthday is coming up on May 19th. So when we talk about remembering those that come, whose shoulders we stand on, Malcolm X is certainly a great example. Again, thank you guys. Thank you for joining us. Congratulations again for being that inaugural class. We love you, and we'll see you next week. Take care.
All right.
Thank you.
All right.
All right.
Greetings, family. Please join us on Friday, May 29th, 3:30 p.m. for the 5th installment of our Staying Clear Through Crisis video series entitled Leadership in Action. We will be talking to 5 young men from across the Eagle Academy Network who have exemplified outstanding leadership abilities during their time at the school. Leadership is such an important quality that's needed, particularly during this time of crisis. Remember, young men, we need you to continue to be those confident leaders that give 100% effort towards their academic excellence and, of course, are staying resilient. Again, please join us on Friday, May 29th, 3:30 p.m. on our Facebook page, IGTV channel, and YouTube channel to hear from these outstanding young men. Have a fantastic week and take care, brothers.